So Big Games is primarily known for their pet simulator installments on Roblox.com. With occasional games, you'll see My Restaurant, Big Paintball 2, but did you guys know that Big Games actually has different installments of different games on their different group pages? There are 2 other game pages that I took notice not that long ago actually. So we obviously have Big Games Super Fun and Big Games Experimental. These 2 groups have different games on here, which they honestly use for testing. Honestly, at this point, I'm not sure what it's going to be used for, whether it's mini games inside of Pets Go, Pet Simulator 99, Pet Simulator X, any type of concepts that they created that might be implemented inside of any of their current games. But there were some games that I did go and basically test out and basically took a look at. So the first game that we're going to be taking a look at is called Kill the Clones. This looks like it was created in 2019, so this is a relatively very old game that the studio itself created. Now, I love the concept for this. Kind of reminds me of Vampire Survivors, though the game itself actually does take a moment for it to load, which is absolutely fine because this is a implement which is a testing game. As mentioned before, it feels like maybe perhaps they were creating small little mini games or even things to add into a new game itself. You can honestly tell even when the game does load in, their load up screen for the logo actually is completely different with different animations, different load-ins, but once you get in and basically take a look at the entirety of the game itself, you'll kind of notice a huge horde of just enemies around you. To be quite honest, it doesn't look like the enemies also attack you, so you're just running around and basically earning money on top of just being able to buy upgrades and earn cash within the game itself. So the concept of this game is pretty simplistic. You spawn in and you just basically hit a ton of enemies. By doing so, you earn cash, which you can go ahead and use for upgrades. The upgrades are just weapons and small things here and there. There's not that much beyond what I'm using right now, which is a simple sword and a couple other different swords within the shop, but to be quite honest, they almost look exactly the same. So I can't really tell if there's anything else beyond what I'm currently using, as everything else is locked. So the more that you play, the more that you'll be able to see. However, there is just 2 swords inside of the shop, and that's absolutely it. The enemies again do not attack, so there's not too much beyond what we're currently seeing right now. What this could have quite possibly been, your guess is just as good as mine. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game and see what we can go ahead and talk about on that one. Alright, so we have officially loaded into a different game. This one is called Ragdoll Playground. This one was implemented in 2020, so obviously again we're looking at what Big Games is currently creating for whatever reasons, if this was going to be implemented in any of their pet simulator games previously, and if these were going to be separate entities on their own. Remember, Pet Simulator 99 I don't believe was even remotely even a thought back then, yet alone Pet Simulator X around this time. So we had Pet Simulator 1 and we had Pet Simulator 2. Beyond that, they were probably figuring out which game they could quite possibly create next. Obviously, over time, these were not implemented as their own games, and we were introduced to Pet Simulator X and then obviously Pet Simulator 99. But the concept pretty much looks pretty simplistic to what it is. You spawn in, you basically run around, and you ragdoll. That's literally it. But obviously, the base play inside of this game here currently is very bare minimum. So you can come into the game and you can just run around and ragdoll. Beyond that, that's absolutely it. And it looks like the next upgraded version of what we're currently looking at from the Ragdoll game is Push Your Friends. This game actually has some people playing it here once in a while. I do notice people actually playing it. And obviously the concept is relatively the same, except you are going to be pushing people and it's basically an open PvP section. Obviously we do have a green area here, so if you are in that area, you cannot be hit. Though sometimes you might run into exploiters that just tend to fly around in the sky try and essentially just cheat their way to basically getting more hits, this is a testing ground of what could have been if it was, again, a standalone game or some sort of mini game in any of the Pet Simulator installments at some point in the future. Remember, as said before, Pet Simulator 99 wasn't even remotely on the board as a thought concept. This was over 5 years ago, so seeing something so crazy like this right now is a little nostalgic for everybody to see something in the studio be from 5 years ago. Unfortunately, with inside of the Big Games experimental page, the RNG game doesn't seem to work, so we're gonna have to fast forward over to Big Games Super Fun group. Now, this game in specific actually interested me the most, primarily because it almost gave me some sort of reminiscence towards the Backrooms event, and I'll explain why. Obviously, you spawn into the game and you see a ton of assets. A lot of the assets kind of felt like they were almost similar to what we had in the back rooms. Now, let's go ahead and go down into the hole and see why. So obviously you're going to see some cows, you're going to see barn, and you're going to see a ton of just different entities within here. Granted, the assets from the farm stuff are completely different from what the back rooms were, but it gave me a bit of a reminder of like, oh yeah, that kind of reminds me of the back room event. We have a hay barrel, we have cows, and we have a barn. Now, obviously, like I said before previously, these are completely different, and I'm assuming that these might be just regular assets within the developer page area inside of the studio section. Then again, I'm not 100% sure because everything is completely different inside there, and it's Big Games, right? So for the concept of this game, it seems like the more that you go down with the capabilities of having a better car, a vehicle, the longer that you'll be able to fall down for. Now, remember, when you do get hit with any type of like entity inside of this section here, you're going to lose health. Now, there was a moment where I almost contemplated of just skipping, and I just realized I could just go ahead and buy a different car. Now, you do need to have a better car to make it more down inside of the hole. Obviously, like I said, you do get hit and you do lose health on the car itself, so you do have to grind in this area and hope that you do not lose any type of health. So we have sunflowers, mushrooms, and this is absolutely giving me some sort of Backrooms vibe to it with all of these moving entities and seeing the alligators and absolutely everything. So I was a little enamored by basically just venturing out and seeing how far I could stand, just basically trying to grind this to see what else I could see visually at the bottom. Now, I didn't make it that very far because over time I realized, man, I'm just hitting absolutely everything. But remember how I said that I did see a barn at the very least from the back rooms, and I think I might have found it. It's this barn right over here. And unironically, this was the most enjoyable game that I've played so far, even though the concept of it is just literally spawning in and just touching like the wheat and collecting it. This is called Farm for Fun. Personally, when I actually played this, I imagined the newest game that we have right now, Pet Simulator 99, having this as an event area. To me personally, I thought the concept of this was actually very well done, and even having it as an event would have been amazing. Now, I know absolutely not everybody is going to agree with this because it doesn't make sense, but I do like the idea of just being able to grind passively just like you're seeing right now, and quite possibly earning your way to what that portal is in the back to get pets. Now, again, these standalone games were made for a reason. Whether or not they would have been used for events, standalone games, whatever it may be, this one, ironically again, was my favorite one so far. Now, obviously over time, only Big Games knows what they were going to do with these, but I would absolutely love to hear what your guys' opinions are on these. You guys can check these out on their group page, and checking out the affiliate section, you'll see all of the groups that they do have. Again, we are looking at Big Games Super Fun and Big Games Experimental, where you guys can go ahead and test out all of the games. Now, the RNG game was the only one that did not work for me at the time, and I would love to know if that game works for absolutely anybody else within this community. With the Drive into a Big Hole and the Farm for Fun on the Big Games Super Games Fun area page, these are the two most popular ones so far. So basically what I'm trying to say is I'm hoping at some point one of these games might be something that we can utilize inside of the future creator of Pet Simulator 99 or just even a standalone game. I have no idea why, but I absolutely love the concept of having your very own farm game. Now, I don't know if that's just me being the age that I am and playing a casual game like this is just more appealing versus running around and doing a bunch of other things like other Roblox games require you, but something simplistic like this, I absolutely love. It seems calming. It seems just so simple to play. As we know, there's a ton of Roblox games that just end up being abandoned, and to be quite honest, there's reasons for that, which obviously I can get into, but there's too much explanation behind it. Concepts come into mind, concepts get created. If they feel like maybe perhaps it's not going to work out, then obviously they move on to the next concept until something actually clicks. Once that click happens, then it's just time to ride the wave until a brand new game is released. And that's just normally how Roblox development normally works. Until then, I'm pretty sure I'll see you guys in another video talking about other things that Big Games has that we might have forgotten or weren't aware of. Until then, I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye everyone!